everybody, it's Glenn back in this video with a whole heap of Captain America Civil War movie action figures. Needless to say, I'd have much rather found the 6-inch movie Marvel Legends, pictures of which were unleashed onto the internet recently. Yet with these 2-inch action figures being the very first Civil War movie merchandise I've seen, I snapped them up with all the giddy excitement of someone who's just discovered buried treasure. Because you know, when the merchandise hits, that movie is within touching distance. And I really like the striking packaging art with Cap and Iron Man about to go at it. They used to be best buddies and now they're not. These 2-inch action figures begin a trend of shrinking scale begun with Guardians of the Galaxy, and honestly it's like your action figures are becoming action figures for your action figures. The 2-inch scale was also noticeable with toys released to accompany Avengers Age of Ultron, and as long as they remain in addition to more collector-friendly fare and not instead of, I think they have a place. But enough of movie merchandise from yesteryear, and let's bring it back to today with Civil War, Iron Man and Black Widow. The packaging back pictures the action figures, which is kind of funny because those pictures are bigger than the actual action figures themselves. Then the packaging back will come in handy if you want to learn how to say warning in umpteen different languages. Then the blurb reads, "Tech and tactics dominate when Iron Man and Black Widow charge into the battle." I'll be curious to see in Civil War how Widow ends up siding with Iron Man, as at the end of Age of Ultron it seems she was very much aligned with Captain America. Now you may remember at the time of the release of Age of Ultron many a remark was made. In fact, the internet became quite a hotbed of complaint about the absence of Black Widow in that movie's merchandising. Could her inclusion here be a response to that, an apology of sorts by Hasbro in the form of 2 inches of plastic, or is it literally too little too late? Yet in posture she's as dynamically poised for battle as Iron Man is. However, the smallest of the scale doesn't really allow room to convey feminine beauty. In fact, the likeness is as much Scarlett Johansson as it is a chewed up wad of gum. Whereas in spite of that scale, the details of Iron Man's armor comes across quite well in the sculpt. But sneakily, the paint deco on the back compared to the front is non-existent. I guess that's because that's the part you don't see when it's packaged, and Hasbro be like, once they get it home and open it and realise we've only painted half of it, we've already got their money. But from the front we get the signature red and gold of Iron Man, plus we also get some deco for both his arc reactor and also his eyes. But then we also get what I'll call an armor upgrade, I guess, by attaching these two parts over his arms. But the fun doesn't stop there, as he also comes with this piece which we place over his head. And that's Iron Man ready for battle, I suppose, as I feel like I've made him more ready to entertain the crowd on the sidelines of a football game. And something a bit sneaky I'm noticing, if we refer back to the picture on the packaging back, those armoured parts have quite a nice deco going on there. In person, not so much. Quickly looking at the articulation, I say quick as there ain't that much going on. The arms rotate at the shoulder, and then the legs hinge backwards and forwards, and then the head rotates. Then the tiniest movement of the head up and down. Moving on, and it's sidekick versus sidekick in the form of Falcon versus War Machine. And as we look at the packaging back, the blurb reads, "Falcon and War Machine take to the skies in a high-tech, high-flying showdown." Fresh out of packaging, War Machine's shoulder cannon does need to be plugged into his back, as do Falcon's wings. Side by side, and I'm struck that they have the same stepping forward pose. Either that or they're both at the put the right foot in stage of playing the hokey pokey. So War Machine, mixed emotions for me. Such a cool armor. It's just a shame that Don Cheadle has to be wearing it. I just can't stand the guy. I take the "It's a Jolly Holiday with Mary" a British accent he does in Ocean's 11 as an insult to my very Britishness. So when it comes to War Machine versus Falcon as this set is framed, I am more than happy, needless to say, for Sam Wilson to beat the Mary Poppins out of War Machine. But back to the action figure, and like the Iron Man one, the armor is rendered in surprising detail in the sculpt for the scale. Yeah, even that said, and my bias aside, I do honestly think the Falcon is the superior of the two. Thinking back to Widow's head sculpt, and here in comparison I do see Anthony Mackie's likeness. I mean, it is half hidden by his goggles, but I do get a sense of that man underneath them. Plus, a surprising benefit to how his wings attach in the back is that they are posable, rotating around. It makes him a bit more playable, yet more playable still when we introduce these armored parts as we got in the previous set with Iron Man. They consist of two mahoosive double gun arms and then this shouldered piece, which given the shoulder cannons, making me think we could put it on War Machine too, although in the packaging it's pictured on Falcon here. And speaking of that packaging, again as per the previous set, these armor parts are pictured with a deco that in practice they don't actually have. I mean, it's the least they could do to paint it to look pretty, because weighed down with this junk he ain't taken to the air. Curiously, I don't know if this is just around me, but I do see a fair few of these Falcon action figures from the Captain America the Winter Soldier movie. They don't seem to be shifting even now 2 years later when discounted, and it does make me question the popularity of a character when action figures of him from one movie are about to meet on the pegs the action figures of him from the sequel. Not to mention the Masher's Falcon, which at my local toy store essentially has its own aisle. Yeah, out with the old and in with the new in the form of the Black Panther, who comes in a set versus Hawkeye. Looking at the packaging back, and the blurb reads, "Expert hunters Hawkeye and Black Panther match up for an arrow-slinging, claw-slashing brawl." So here they are side by side out of packaging, and again striking a hokey-pokey pose. They've put their left foot in. Picking sides, and with these two, sorry Clint, I'm going with T'Challa. Perhaps seduced by the new, I mean really I'm on the edge of my seat to see the MCU Spider-Man, but in the meantime I'll settle for gawking at Panther here. That's not to say this Hawkeye is bad. Compared to the Age of Ultron one, and the Civil War one is bringing a much more dynamic stance. Plus, that coat with tails never seemed practical, whereas the Civil War one just looks much more ready for battle. I would think the simplicity of the deco has left Hawkeye's costume more lavender than it will appear on screen, and a byproduct of the simple deco is the eyes rendered as just black and frankly paranormal looking. With Mulder and Scully back on TV, I'm half reaching for the phone to call them. His bow is different in design to his Age of Ultron counterpart. It fits into his right hand, and then the quiver on the back is removable. Taking a closer look at Black Panther, and for the scale, it packs in a surprising amount of detail in the sculpt of the surface. Then the deco is limited to the detail around his neck and his eyes. The armoured accessories that come with this set are certainly feline styled for him. Now don't be expecting them to show up on screen, as likewise the 2-inch figures from the Age of Ultron came packed with these sub-Ultrons. In fact, I might have enjoyed that movie more had they shown up, but these bulky giant claws and cat head helmet, not so much. The Force Awakens figures, also by Hasbro, came packed with similar armor up accessories. Seems to be a phase Hasbro are going through. Maybe they'll grow out of it. The helmet part is articulated so he can see. I hear that's important. And with the climate being as it is in this age of terror, I'm not sure how he got like this from Wakanda to the US. Can you imagine him stepping out of a plane in Newark in this gear? He'd raise more than eyebrows. So here they are all lined up, and this was actually a fun video to make, enough to tide me over until I get my hands on the Civil War movie legends at least. 2 more sets are also available, one pairing the Vision with Winter Soldier and another set pairing Captain America with Crossbones. I'd have really liked to have taken a closer look at Crossbones, but as it is, I had to take a look at whatever they had in store. Now, Ant-Man is also set to appear in Civil War, and it seems Hasbro have missed a trick by not including him here in this series. As due to the nature of Ant-Man's powers, you could have scaled him with Marvel Legends, or anything really. Anyway, click this video if you missed joining me on my latest toy hunting expedition, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye.